Money FM 89.3, best of breakfast. Mind your business, only on Money FM 89.3.
Thanks for joining us on The Breakfast Show. It's Mind Your Business with me, Audrey Seek. Now, we're living in an age where AI is speeding ahead faster than most of us can keep up. Companies everywhere are racing to roll out the latest tools, automate tasks, and talk about AI like it's the answer to everything. But here's the catch. All that shiny new tech doesn't mean much if the people expected to use it aren't ready. Without the right skills and know-how, innovation can hit a wall, and that's a risk no business wants to take. So how do we make sure people, not just products, are ready for the AI era? And how do we stop the talent gap from slowing everything down? That's what we're going to be talking about today on Mind Your Business. We're joined by someone who's been tackling this exact challenge across the region, helping companies, governments, and workers get ahead of the curve instead of falling behind it. So let's welcome Ryan Meyer, Managing Director for APAC at General Assembly. Good morning, Ryan. Great to have you with us on the show.
Thanks so much, Audrey. I'm happy to be here.
Happy to have you on as well, Ryan. Well, let's start with General Assembly's recent study. You guys found that while nearly 90% of tech hiring managers plan to boost AI investments this year, 3/4 feel that like their companies are hiring AI talent too fast without really thinking through some long-term strategies. Why do you think there's such a big gap between, the enthusiasm for AI and planning for it properly?
Yeah, so there's this divergence that's happening between everyone, knowing that they need to do something, but not having a strategy necessarily in place. And creating a strategy around AI is supremely difficult at the moment because I think, if you look at the rate of change, it's parabolic at this time, and people don't want to make a mistake. There's first mover advantages, but there's also penalties if you deploy capital or you deploy people into the wrong systems too soon. So it's kind of like hitting a moving target. And I think most companies that are trying to be thoughtful, they realize that they need talent, specifically AI talent, but the market, there isn't a huge marketplace for AI talent. I'm sure you've read that Meta is offering $100 million signing bonuses for some of the preeminent AI and LLM researchers in the world and thought leaders, which is bananas. And a lot of companies are then going back and saying, okay, well, we need to hire AI talent, but no one really knows what that means. And very few universities are spitting out that type of talent. So I think where we're going for the next few years is that companies are going to reduce junior hiring, unfortunately, and double down on upskilling and reskilling their existing employees so they can drive productivity within their own ranks.
Yeah, well, a lot of companies say they want to upskill their teams for AI, but they often kind of stumble along the way. So in your experience and what you've seen, what are the biggest mistakes organizations make when rolling out AI training?
To speak candidly, this will probably get me in trouble, but most companies say they want to upskill or reskill, but when it comes to actually putting money behind that, they often opt for a optics over actual change. And what that means is that many companies will invest in an asynchronous platform. And they say, we've given this tool to everyone, and they can do whatever they want on this. They can learn, anything they want on whatever, and there are maybe 10 asynchronous tools out there. And what that means is that less than 5% of the staff actually use that tool. It's not, we're in an age where you can use AI to create individualized learning opportunities for people and individualized plans and giving people a blanket sort of YouTube style, watch some videos and upskill yourself. That just doesn't fly anymore. So I think there is still a bit of a desire to do something and a desire to talk about it. And you often hear CEOs talking about reskilling, and spending, tens of millions of dollars on upskilling or reskilling. But typically what that means is companies then divert those funds into internal staff and nothing meaningful gets done. And so to offer another solution to this, what General Assembly has done, and we took some time, you don't always want to be first to the market, but we spent a lot of time developing a suite of upskilling pathways or courses that we call AI for All. And the idea is we sort of rose to prominence creating this boot camp style education where you can teach someone how to be a junior level software engineer in a matter of 3 months. And that's been really successful. But now we're starting to look at transferring skills by job family. So we start with HR, we start with sales, or we start with the finance folks or the data folks. And we're looking at parsing out the approach so that it's not just teaching data science or data analytics or software engineering or Python to a group of people. It's saying, let's leverage AI within the function of your job, and let's be really specific and really surgical about it so that we can drive as much productivity as possible, but also to keep sort of the human experience and the preciousness of the human capital together so that individuals realize that they can start automating parts of their job and working on more higher value or higher order tasks, which I think is what every company, that's the promise of AI, at least, for the next few years.
Yeah. So it also seems like you're saying, Ryan, that companies should look at their existing people first before rushing out to hire new AI specialists, whatever that means nowadays, right? So why is that so important? Yeah. Do you have an example of maybe a company that's done this really well?
So I can't say who our clients are right now, but we're doing a lot of work in financial services. We're doing a lot of work with companies in advanced manufacturing. And the idea is, let's start with potentially, one use case is let's start with the HR team and let's work on developing a sort of prompt engineering or context engineering approach so that we can take the 80 or 90 folks in HR in this one specific client and really upskill them and show them how to use the model, the LLM that the company is deployed for everyone, but also other models, and show them how to properly create context so that they get the best output and that meets all of the guardrails of the company and obviously all of the information within the company. It's usually double masked, so none of the proprietary information leaks out into the the general LLM model.
Yeah.
But that's the type of stuff we're doing. But it's still very focused on the human being in charge.
All right. So you're also a big advocate for making AI fluency a company-wide priority, to your point, right? Not just something for the IT or engineering teams to think about. For people who aren't techies, honestly, like me, what does AI fluency actually mean? What skills should they have to stay competitive?
That's a great question. And typically with companies, we either have two paths. We're either working with the technical teams, and that looks very different than the work that we're doing with the non-technical teams. We're trying to get the non-technical teams to have an AI first mentality. And that really, that really starts with the leadership of the company. You can't deploy this approach if you don't have buy-in from the leadership.
Right.
So oftentimes we work with a leadership team first, help them craft, what's practically possible within your environment, and then go out and train the non-technical staff to operate in an AI first manner. And so what that means is using AI for a lot of the tasks that you would otherwise spend maybe hours and hours in doing, but also showing those individuals what is around the corner, what are some of the really fantastic things that you can do, and then starting to even show them a little way to start to code or to start to generate some code or generate some more technical things with AI, because a lot of this you can do now without having a technical background.
Yep.
So, phase one is just do your role AI first, and we're going to help you craft the prompts, and we're going to, really hold your hand in this. And then that's sort of a first wave approach. And second wave approach is, hey, there are a lot of things that you didn't think you could do that now are possible. And so getting people to think in a more technical manner.
Yeah. So I think that's a great point. There's actually something for everybody. I think there was this misconception that AI is just for the techies of the company, people in IT or engineering, but functions like HR and marketing need to understand AI as well. So Ryan, before you go, if a company wants to get serious about AI upskilling, what's the very first thing they should do to figure out where they stand and how to move forward?
Sure. Well, you can obviously go to General Assembly. Our website is ga.co, and that'll show you some case studies and show you what's possible. But there needs to be a coherent thought process that the senior team is putting together. We can obviously help with that, but there needs to be a vision, because oftentimes the bulk of our upskilling or reskilling work is getting everyone in a company to march in the same direction.
Yeah.
And so you have to establish that direction, and you have to take some risks. And I think that's first question. Companies now are sort of caught like deer in the headlights. They don't really have the strategy yet, because they don't want to make decisions, because everything's changing so quickly, and they realize they need talent. But to the point earlier about Meta offering these enormous signing bonuses,
insane.
You can have all the money in the world, and you can't hire the talent, because it just doesn't exist on the market, because things are changing so quickly. So setting that intention and setting that direction strategically is sort of the first thing, and then getting everyone to march in that direction. And by march, I mean start to use AI, and in their role, start to think about, okay, what functions of the job can we hand off to an agent? How do we create that agent? How do we get everyone to use it? And some of the case studies are fascinating. One company finds that naming the agents makes it easier for humans to use it.
Oh, okay.
This is for a real estate company that uses an agent to schedule sale meetings or viewings of commercial real estate. So let's say they call the agent Bob, and so everyone says we'll connect you with Bob to schedule the viewing. And this is, might be happening thousands of times a day.
Yeah.
And that used to represent 25% of, say, a group of 20 sales individuals of their time. That's now totally done by one agent. And so the team says, well, we're going to pass you on to Bob. And so Bob will then they'll hand off the communications with the client, and the client might not be the wiser that they're talking to an AI or texting with an AI, or getting a calendar invite to say, come to our Anson Road property on Monday at 10:30 a.m. for a viewing. So it's really fascinating, but it's changing so quickly. But there's so much opportunity, and I think the landscape with companies is going to be tremendously different in the next 5 years between those companies that adopt AI quickly and properly, successfully, and those that don't.
Yeah, fascinating indeed. Upskilling for the AI age is clearly not just a tech problem, but a people problem as well. That was Ryan Meyer, Managing Director of APAC at General Assembly. Ryan, thanks so much for your time and insights today. It was great chatting with you. Keep it here on Money FM 89.3.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.